if you only play the opening I'm about to show you, you're going to get to 1500 ELO easily. So here we go. The opening I'm talking about is of course the Jobava London system. Hold on, this is not the average London system after knight f6 and knight f6 and bishop f4. I play on the second move of the game knight to c3, and this is called the Jobava London system. Now, black, of course, has to play d5. Otherwise, if he just plays g6 or if he plays e6, our response is the same. We play e4 and get a very good position, just like from an e4 opening here. If we play e4, knight f6, or let's say firstly g6 here and knight c6, knight f6, excuse me, this position is already much better for white. Indeed, it is plus zero point 0.9. So, of course, our opponent after knight f6 will be shocked that we play knight c3, but of course the idea is to play e4 on the next move if black doesn't play d5. So black will play d5. Normally the beginners are learn to play in the center to push the pawns into the center, so this will what you will get 90% of the games you will play. And now we'll play bishop to f4. Of course, this is the London system, but it's not the regular London system. In the London system, we play e3, we play c3, but now we have the knight on c3. And now many beginners will just develop the knight. Well, you should develop the knight. And now it's already almost losing for black because we play the idea of playing the move knight c3, we play knight b5. And suddenly you cannot defend the c7 pawn. If you just play h6, well, knight takes is not only a check on the king, it wins a rook as well. So after knight to b5, black only has one move not to lose the game immediately. They have to play the move e5. And now we will simply take with the pawn, and here, now like 90% of the beginners played the move knight to e4. And why is this a bad move? Well, firstly, it's not because of e6, because they could play like bishop c5, counterattack it. But e6 is a good move. But the best move in the position is to sacrifice the queen with queen takes d5. And after queen takes back, of course, we have this triple fork winning 2 pawns out of the opening. And this should just be completely winning. We are up 2 pawns from the opening, and this is why Jobava London is so good. And even if your opponent will know what to do after remove bishop to f4, we will still know the theory better. So, watch out. The best move is to play e6 here. And this is the main line. I will show you the theory right in a second. And there are a lot of traps there as well. But also, few people play the move knight d7 here. And this is, well, the same reason that you're already lost after knight d7 is because of knight b5. And e5, we still take like this. But now there is another trick after knight to e4. Of course, we could take. I mean, it's the best move to take here. And we're completely winning there. If c6, of course, know that we take this knight. So this is completely winning up to pawns. But if they play the not so obvious move knight to h5, we play another sacrifice. We play bishop g5 attacking the queen. And they will simply take. Knight takes on c7 is a pure fork. And we win once again. So, if they know what to do after the Jobava London is played right into their hands, they will probably play the move e6 here. I will show you this in a moment, but of course, there are a lot of other options for black as well. You can play c5 here, which is probably the second best way to play this. Arguably, the best way to counter attack the Jobava London is to push with c5. Now we cannot play c3 as we are taught in the London system. When c5 is played, we should play c3. Now we don't have the option to play c3. And usually people play e3 here. But this is just a worse version of an exchange caro, which is just bad. And I recommend you to play the move pawn to e4 here. Counter-attacking everything. And now, yes, black has only like 3 moves here. First move is very obvious. C takes on d4, forcing the queen to get on the d4 square. And now knight c6. We don't just move back because this simply loses a pawn or d4 is played and we just could resign immediately. We played a very obvious move. I mean, very obvious. If you know the move, it's very obvious. It is the move bishop b5. Now you cannot take the queen because you are simply pinned here. So now most people play bishop d7, which is the best move. Of course, we have to take. That's why we played bishop b5. And now after bishop takes, we play e5. And after knight to d7 is played, Well, we play a brilliant move actually. I would call it a brilliant move, and it's a very not unnatural move. It you could have seen that this idea before. Well, the move is pawn to e6, sacrificing the pawn, and after f takes on e6, well, this pawn structure is very bad. After knight to f3, black will usually go with the move queen b6 here, and we sacrifice another pawn with the move queen to d2. Of course, you cannot really take this pawn after castles. You are pretty much worse here. I mean, I get the knight to e5, I get the knight maybe to d4, bishop to e5. I play rook b1 next, rook b3, rook b1. This is just very bad for black. This pawn structure is gross. Um, but yes, let me just show you the theory here. G6 is the best move. Then rook a b1 and queen a3, and we simply play the move knight g5. And I mean, just look at this. I mean, this bishop is just a monster piece on f4. This pawn is very weak. I might play rook b3, rook b1, also knight b5. Forcing the bishop to take here is very much an idea, and we are just dominating the whole board. Although we are down 2 pawns, but this is still very good. You cannot really defend the pawns. Bishop g7 next move, attacking here, but we play rook b3. After queen a5, still putting pressure, we simply take the knight. We're threatening to take the bishop. We're threatening to play knight to c7 next. And this should just be almost game over. Although black is up a pawn, we are completely smashing here. So c5 is an option, and after e4, this is not the best move. Because queen takes and bishop b5. Just remember that you need to pin the knight when it comes out. You need to pin the knight and then push with e6, and you should be able to win like 90% of your games there. So what about e4 and simply pawn takes on e4? Well, that's a reasonable move, but we simply take back. And most beginners here will just take on d1. And you wouldn't believe this. This is a huge blunder. After rook takes d1, actually it's not a blunder, but it's a mistake. Very serious mistake. After rook d1, white is almost like +1 here. Because people still play knight 6 here, and we still play knight b5 with a fork idea. And now the only move, I mean, you cannot prevent the fourth, so we play e5 here. But after knight c7, king e7, we can sacrifice the bishop for a pawn. Cute desperado sacrifice, and then take the rook in the corner. We will come back with the knight to c7, and will be simply up an exchange and a pawn here. So that's one way to play. But after the move e4 from us, there is one. The best way to play this for black is to take on e4 with the knight. Well, we simply take back, and we are down a pawn for now. Well, we still take back, and still taking on d1 is not that great. I mean, it is a move, but after like knight c6, we can simply play f3, takes and takes with the knight, and we can play a3 before c4 b5, and we are just completely smashing. By the way, when we castle, the rook will get to f file and will be very active there. We will, as I mentioned, play a3 before, maybe even bishop b5 to pin the knight and pressure the queen side, maybe c4, and we'll just create a passed pawn on the queen side. And where we are playing is on this queen side of the board. This is where we will push our pawns to make a new queen. So yes, this is one way to play for black. But after d takes on c5, the best way to play is to simply give check and pick up this pawn because of this fork. Now there is only one move that pretty much doesn't loses the game on the spot, which is to play c3. And it has a very great idea. Queen takes is of course the best move, and after queen a4, well, we are picking a pawn as well. And of course, some people play queen c6. Well, I'm sorry, bishop b5 just wins the game here. So there are many traps. Knight c6 is the best move. After queen takes pawn, we are simply fine. If bishop to f4 is played, we play queen a4 back. We develop the knight, we develop the bishop, we castle, we play rook d1, and maybe just start an attack here. So let me just show you, maybe like g6 here to develop the bishop. Then we firstly play bishop e3 so that we attack the queen. Queen probably goes to d5 or somewhere. Knight to f3, bishop g7, rook d1, and queen is just harassed here. Queen a5 is the best move. And after we trade the queens, well, we're just better with this knight on d4. The bishop is maybe coming to b5 to give a check. Then we will castle, and our position is just amazing out of the opening. That's all what we wanted. So if we go few moves back to the move g6, This is the main move. You don't play bishop f4 and bishop f5, you play g6 as well. This is also the video not only for intermediate and beginners. This is also a video for advanced people trying to surprise some of your opponents. G6 here is the best move by far. And after the move knight to f3 here, bishop g7. If we just keep on developing with bishop e2, that's a move that Hans Niemann has actually played. Well, you just lose the game on the spot because bishop takes on c3 just picks up a rook in the corner and we can just resign here. So we cannot play bishop e2. Most people here recommend the move queen e3, trading off into this endgame. I don't agree with that. I think the best move in the position is to play rook d1. We're activating the rook. Bishop c3 no longer works because there is no rook to get, and we're simply up a piece if bishop c3 happens. So after rook d1, we're just much better. I mean, there are many options. Queen b6, for example. We can simply play the move. Not queen b6, excuse me. Queen b6 is a bad move. Queen a5 is a move I was looking to play. Now bishop c4. We are developing the bishop very actively, but also it is a very good defensive piece, defending the attacked a2 pawn. And our position is just amazing here. After the move castles, and queen b6, well, we're just rocking the game here. I mean, we could. I mean, the b2 pawn is attacked, so maybe we play rook d2, rook d1, and we have a lot of potential here. Bishop f5, I guess. Queen e2 and rook a d8. We play rook d1, and our position is amazing. We will play h3 g5, g4, maybe play knight g5, maybe play knight to e5 here, and we are just very much fine here. Also a4, also b4, maybe a5 is an idea, although c3 is very weak, so we need to be careful about that. But our position is just fine. e7, always a weak pawn here. And if something like this happens, we're just much better after h3 and g4. This is just a threat to win a piece here. So our position is just very much amazing here. So that's pretty much everything from the move c5 here. After e4, we are just fine. e4 is probably one of the best moves, most interesting, most aggressive moves in the video you're just watching. I mean, e4 is very aggressive. People tend to play e3 here, as I mentioned, but this is just bad. This is just bad. This is bad Karo Khan defense. We play e4, we are aggressive, and many people, especially below 1500 elo, won't know how to react to this move. It just comes by surprise. So maybe people will play knight b5, but still, knight c6, but still knight b5. Oh wow, you are completely losing here. So yes, this is pretty much it. Bishop g4 here, the best move, and after f3 you have to play rook c8, and you're just giving away the pawn, and you can just resign here. But yes, I mean, c5 is not the only way to play. There are many options for. I mean, e6 is the main line, so we will look at it at the end of the video. There is also a6 because many people are afraid to face knight b5, so they simply play a6. This is fine. We play simply e3 here. And now people tend to play bishop f5 here, just copying us. Well, we play knight to f3 now. And if e6, we play knight to e5. And now people just play bishop d6 here. And the game is almost completely worse for black. We play g4, bishop g6, and we play h4 here. And this is just amazing for us. People play h6 here. And we snap the bishop because we're simply threatening to play h5 here. So if you just castle here, h5 traps your bishop. Bishop here, we don't take the bishop, we play f3, and your bishop is simply trapped here. So you have to play h6 here. Before castling, you have to play h6, and after takes, bishop d3, and this pawn is just completely falling off the board anytime soon. Our position is just amazing. After bishop takes, we have this little intermezzo. We take the pawn with check, and after king f8, we simply take back, and this is just amazing position for us. So a6 is a possibility. Just remember that if people play a6 against you, you play e3, you get the knight to f3 and the knight to f5, and if the bishop is already on f5, you play g4 and h4. And if people also play e6 here, which is okay, we tend to develop here. And c5, if c5 is played, we can simply take the pawn. That's the beauty of our position. Bishop takes, and we play bishop d3, and we stand pretty much great here. I mean, a3 b4 might be an idea. Also, if this bishop stays here who cares? We can castle, and after like knight b7, we can castle, castles for black as well, and we can play this aggressive move pawn to e4 here. If takes, then simply knight takes, and our position here might not be as winning or as good, but look at our bishops. I mean, this is an amazing piece here, standing on e4, threatening to take on h7 and play. I mean, if you play knight b6 here, for example, oh wow, you get Greek gifted. This is the Greek gift, and you can simply resign here because you have to take on g5. Otherwise, you're getting mated on h7. So that's the beauty of Jobava London. I mean, if black plays perfectly, yes, they will be fine. But people under 1500 ELO won't play this perfectly. And you will win like 90% of your games and just thank me later, play the Jobava London. So that's not it. Of course, that's not it. How could it be? Bishop f4. And yes, we looked at 96, we looked at a6, excuse me, we looked at c5. But people that play the king's Indian defense will probably play the move g6 here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you will face the move g6, I am pretty much sure you will win. You will win the game. We still develop e3, trying to play bishop d3 maybe. But after bishop g7, we're not simply developing the knight or the bishop to d3 or to e2. We played a very aggressive h4. And hold on, black castles here if he plays okay. And after h5, knight takes on h5. We are completely winning with the move rook takes on h5. And that's the beauty of Jobava London. We're simply sacrificing an exchange and we will win the game very smoothly. After queen takes on h5, there is simply no way to be fine here. For example, knight to c6, which is the developing move, trying maybe to play for e5. I can play bishop d3, threatening mate. You have to play the move pawn to f5 here. And then I can simply play knight f3, trying to get to g5 and mate you again. And now let's say knight b4, attacking the bishop, attacking and pressuring the c2. We simply castle our king, rook h1 next, and we're completely winning. And there is one more important move. For example, queen e8 here. Whenever your queen is attacked, when you have sacrificed the rook on h5, you have to remember to play the move queen to h2. This is probably the most important move in this g6 variation, because queen h2 attacks the c7 pawn, and that's very crucial, especially if we go few moves ago. After queen takes, let's just say the move e6 is played. It's a bad move, but anyway, bishop d3, f5. Now we can play the move long castles, and if queen to e, no, let's say if the move, no, we don't castle long. Maybe we don't castle long. Okay, yes, the computer says it's very good to play queen h2 right here as well. Why? Well, we are not just attacking the c7 pawn. If a6 is played, we take the pawn and we win a piece, because rook takes is impossible because queen takes back. You were actually threatening to win a piece there. And that's so important to remember, that always queen h2 is a good move when we have sacrificed the rook on h5, because c6 is so weak. And if simply c7 is so weak, and if c6 happens, well, I'm sorry, you still lose a piece. I'm sorry, but this is just over. There is no check with the bishop, so you don't win my queen. This is GG, game over. So that's what I recommend you to play in G6 variations. But of course, if your opponent will know what to do, they will play h5 here. And yes, h5 is probably the must-play move here. We can simply play knight f3, castles, and bishop d3, and we're just completely fine here. Let's say bishop to g4 is played. We play the move queen to d2 here. And well, let's say e6 is played. I'm sorry, but 95 still is much better, almost winning the game, pressuring the knight, the bishop, and of course, my next move is f3 if you don't move the bishop. So bishop here is must play move, but we still play f3 g4, and if our opponent takes the bishop, we can take with the queen. That's fine, but we could also take with the c pawn. Actually, taking with the c pawn is not that bad. And after c5, we can just take knight c6, and well, excuse me, but I'm just up a clear pawn here. And that's the beauty of Jobava London as well. Whenever you play bishop d3, you take back with the c pawn. And if c5, then you take and play d4. You're just much, much better there. So let's see the main line now. No, wait. There is another. E6 is the most important variation to know. Most people will play e6 or knight to c6, blundering knight b5 in one move. But a lot of beginners and intermediate players will also play the move bishop f5, just copying me. You're just copying me. Well, I play e3 here. If you play e6 here, I can play knight f3, bishop d6, let's say, knight e5. Let's say you play the move knight bd7, which is fine. I play the move bishop e2, let's say, and you play the move c6. Well, this is lost once again. There is a very important tactic in this position. What am I talking about? Well, let's say the pawn is on c6, yeah? Who is defending the bishop? Who is defending the bishop? No one. That's correct. And you can also see the standoff between our bishops. Our bishops see each other, but there is a knight in between. So if we can move the knight so that we attack something, we basically win a free pawn. And yes, you got me. The move is knight takes on f7. Attacking the queen, attacking the bishop. There is no time to grab the bishop because your queen is hanging. After simply king takes, you have to take it. I take the bishop and I'm up a pawn. My bishop is a monster piece here. I'm up a pawn. I will play g4, g5, open up your king, and this is GG, game over. No questions asked, game over. You will definitely lose. You will definitely win a lot of games, excuse me, from this position. And there is also one more important detail that I have missed here with c5. Just a second. Give me a second. Give me a second, guys. I know I have showed this, but this is just amazing, amazing. Let me just find it in my document here because this is very massive PGN file. There is a lot of variations here. I will show you all of that. Just give me a second. So when your opponent plays c5 and he will take the pawn, I will take back. And if your opponent won't go into a worse endgame for him, he'll probably play the move knight to d7, attacking the c5 pawn, and this is very logical. But hold on, we play the move bishop b5. And although it seems very okay position for black, simply playing a6 here, challenging the bishop, oh, it's GG, game over on the spot. Why? I play pawn to c6. Well, I just take you. And now, the idea behind c6 is either I win a free piece here, or you take me, and after you take me, I don't take you back. I don't take you back. Although that would be okay. I don't take you back. I play the move c7 and ask you, where will your queen go? And that's it. It is trapped. And after queen takes on c7, bishop takes, your opponent must resign. Otherwise, he will get humiliated. So let's go back to the main lines here with pawn to e6. Well, after pawn to e6, we don't just play e3 and be solid here. We play the move knight to b5 here, attacking c7. There are three ways to defend the c7 pawn. Well, the most useful and the most reasonable is to play knight e6, but that's just what we want. The second way here is to play bishop d6 while c7 is defended. But after knight takes pawn takes, our position is much, much better. I will show you why in a second. And the third way is to play the move bishop to b4. Of course, we play c3 here. I will show you now this firstly because it's just an amazing position. Bishop a5 knight now defends the c7 pawn. But now we play the very tricky a4. What is our rear? My opponent might, your opponent might say, well, he will just castle. Excuse me, b4 just wins a piece. b4 here forces the bishop to go back, and after a5, your bishop is trapped, and we're winning the game on move 8. What can you expect from me to do? So yes, the only move from this position not to lose the game on the spot is to play the move a6. But after a6, We don't just move back the knight. We play the move before anyway. And if our opponent takes, we don't take back. We don't take the bishop. We take the b5 pawn. We're up a pawn. And hold on, our opponent cannot move the bishop because the rook is hanging back on b8. And then we'll recapture the bishop. If castles, we recapture the bishop, and our position is completely winning. Completely winning. With our pawn, maybe e3, c4 will be played. Completely winning. No questions asked. And this is just very amazing position. Now you cannot take, but your opponent will definitely take. That is knight e6, which is fine now. And after b takes on a5, a b, there is knight takes. But this is still very, very tricky. After e3, our position is just very fun to play. We might play knight f3, knight e5. We might play h4, h5, h6. This is also an idea. But yes, in today's video, I will focus on the two moves, knight e6 and bishop d6, because you will face them most. So knight e6 is the main line here. We play e3, we're still developing. Now, c6 is probably the most popular move, like, ever. Just attacking the knight, we play knight c3. And now, for example, bishop e7. We can simply take on a6, we don't care about the bishop pair. We're just giving away these weaknesses. And we play the move knight to f3. Now, castles will probably be played. We play knight to e5. Well, what's the idea of this move? Simply bishop a7. Well, we play the move knight to a4. And for example here, let's say black does absolutely nothing. He plays rook to e8. We don't play knight c5. This is after takes and queen a5 we lose a pawn. We play the very, very positionally great move. Play the move knight back to d3. And this is, I would say, maybe not game over. Black has one move that doesn't lose the game on the spot, which is to play knight d7. But Common will find this undeveloping the knight back to d7. If they play rook c8, well, I'm sorry, but this is probably just game over. I mean, this knight is so much better than this bishop. This bishop is completely blocking the game. I mean, blocking his position. Blacks will play bishop a8, probably the best move. Now we can play c4. We can play b4 next move. We can castle. We can play anything. We're completely dominating. We don't even take the free pawn. We don't even take the free pawn here. Well, of course we don't. Queen a5 defends the pawn, so we cannot do that just yet. But after castles, we could take the free pawn, but we won't. We will have the knight on c5, and we'll just win the game slowly. That's just pretty much it. So that's our idea. Our idea in this position is that we play knight b5, but we then go back and we say this knight has no future. This knight absolutely does not have future. It has to be on a6. If knight e7 is played back, just keep on developing, give some initiative. Bishop e6 here, knight f3, knight e5 again. We're just completely dominating the board here. We can also play a3. This is a prophylactic move, defending against bishop before, and then we can simply slowly play on the king side as well. So now I will also show you the last variation for today's video, which is to defend the c7 pawn with your bishop with the move bishop to d6. But we don't take with the bishop. This is just bad. Yeah, we take with our knight. Of course, black takes back, and we play the move e3 here, being solid, preparing to play c4, maybe knight f3 and bishop d3. And you wouldn't believe, like, quarter, like 25%, excuse me, of the games on Lichess database goes e5. Just blundering the pawn in one move. I mean, people just don't know how to react to Jobava London. They just sacrifice. They blunder a pawn on move 8 and you're completely winning. And I mean, even if you castle here, I can still play the move knight f3, or let's say rook e8, and we can play the move c3, bishop d3, and we castle. We're just solid. I mean, let's say knight c3, bishop d3, no, bishop d3, excuse me, blundered the game on the spot because of e5, because of this idea. But we can simply play this slowly. h3, bishop d7, bishop h2. Let's say that this pawn is not hanging. But yes, this is just our idea. To play bishop h2 back, bishop d3, we will castle. We'll maybe play on the queenside as well. We'll play queen c2 attacking h2, maybe knight g5, and our position is just completely amazing. People just don't know how to react with these double pawns here. So if they will play bishop d6 um, on the fourth move of the game, I can guarantee you that you will get a very good position out of the opening. So that was pretty much it for today's video. I just wanted to show you this incredible Jobava London system. Even if you are like 2000 rated player on chess.com, you can still try this and you will definitely win a lot of quick and easy games out of the opening, because people just don't know the theory here, don't know how to move. I mean, knight b5 is just a very that's deadly threat, and like people on with 1500 with 1500 ELO, they play knight c6. And after knight b5, it's game over. So definitely you will win a lot of quick games. I hope that I did a great job today of sharing my intel from the Jobava London system. I hope you have learned something today. And as always, if you like the video, please consider liking and subscribing. It would really help me out. And see you guys tomorrow. Bye bye.